Let's talk percentiles. Now, hopefully when you hear the word percentiles, you think 100% or percent out of 100. Now, in general, if I have data, this goes from 0 to 100%. All of my stuff is in between, right? So we're talking about, you can read these words, but they talk about the median is the 50th percentile. Well, the median we know is the number directly in the middle. And if we would cut this in the middle, well, halfway between 0 and 100 is 50%. That's why the person in the middle is the 50th percentile. And if you think about it, if I take 0 and 50 and cut it in half, that would give me the 25th percentile. And if I would take 50 and 100 and cut it in half, I get the 75th percentile. So it's all about cutting things in half. These are the ones that we can find by hand. Any other percentiles that you want to find, you really are going to need to use Excel or some other technology because it really is just too hard to do it by hand. Now in this case, if you had 10 people, you could find percentiles of 10, right? This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100%. But how often do you only have 10 pieces of data? It's just not very likely. So recall the normal distribution, which looks like this. Ooh, that's a good one. The mean, median, and mode are all equal and lie in the middle of the normal curve. So that's here. So what z-score corresponds to that? Well, it's going to have a z-score of 0. And if you think about it, this is where the mean lies. The formula for a z-score is value minus the mean over the standard deviation. So let's just throw a number out there. Let's say that our mean is 70. Okay, well, if our mean is equal to 70, and then I say, hey, the median is also 70. Find the z-score for that. Well, what's 70 minus 70? It doesn't even matter what the standard deviation is. 70 minus 70 is 0. So 0 over 10 is just 0. So the z-score with the median, or the z-score of the mean, is always just 0. And what probability will correspond to this? Well, think about what this line represents. It cuts it in half. There's 50% of data on each side, so the probability that corresponds to a z-score of 0 is 50%. So probabilities found in the z-score table are percentiles, right? And I think I've said this on a different videos, but we talk about them as probabilities, we're going to talk about them as percents or percentiles, and we're going to talk about them as proportions. So I call them the 3 Ps because they're kind of interchangeable when you're talking about these probabilities. So let's calculate some of these. Recall that the average IQ score is 100 points with a standard deviation of 15. What percentile is an individual who scores 120? So we're really just trying to find the probability, but you're going to represent it as a percent. So I got to find a z-score. Value minus the mean over the standard deviation. 20 over 15 is 1.33, but if I look at my z-score table, it's just 1.3. So when I look at my z-score table of z and probability, I find 1.3. The probability that goes with that is 0.9032. So I go ahead and I change that to a percent, 90.32%. So we would say this is the 90th percentile. You always just round to the nearest percentile when you're talking percentiles. To be a member of Mensa, the highest IQ society of the world, one must score at least 135. That means 135 or more. So in what percentile is an IQ score of 135? Well, first things first, we need to write numbers correctly would be a really good help. So let's try that again. 135 minus 120 over 15. Right, we need a z-score. Why did I use 120 right there? The average is 100. Why didn't you guys tell me that? So 35 over 15 gives me a z-score of roughly 2.3, which is around here. Okay. What percentage of the population qualifies for Mensa? Wait, I didn't answer the first question. In what percentile? Okay, so the z-score is 2.3. So I look at my table, z in probability, and if I'm looking at 2.3, make that a 2.3, I get roughly 0.9893. So that's on this side. If I change that to a percent, I get 98.93%. So that's roughly the 99th percentile. Okay, because 98.93 rounds to 99. That's the answer to A. So now if we're going to answer Part B says what percentage of the population qualifies for Mensa? Well, if 99% is on the left, then 1% is on the right, because 100% minus 99% gives me just 1%. So 1% of the population qualifies for Mensa. Danielle earned a 59 on the standardized test for spelling. The national average was 60 with a standard deviation of 10. What percentile did Danielle score on the standardized spelling test? Okay, so first things first, we need a z-score. Value minus the mean over standard deviation. -1 over 10 is -0.1. Okay, so now I like visuals. So a z-score of -0.1 falls here. So we find the area to the left, that's how it works. So z-score probability. So my z-score is -0.1. So the probability is going to be 0.4602. I change that to a percent, 46.02%. So Danielle is in the 46th percentile. That means her score was higher than 46% of the people who took this test.